Hi, I'm Jeremy Clark. I'm an assistant professor at Concordia University in Montreal. Today's lecture is on the history of cryptocurrencies. We'll look at all the technologies that led up to the invention of Bitcoin. Now, understanding the history of cryptocurrencies isn't essential to understanding how Bitcoin works. Thus, it wasn't part of the original lecture series. However, enough people thought that it would be an interesting subject to look at that we decided to release this as a bonus lecture to the original series. In this lecture, we'll look at the history of electronic payment systems. These will include digital cash proposals and broader proposals that tie into the credit card network. We'll also look at the history of certain primitives that Bitcoin uses that aren't directly related to eCash. We'll look at proof-of-work protocols, and we'll look at secure timestamping schemes. Finally, at the end of the lecture, we'll reflect a bit on what we can learn about Satoshi and what he understood from the history of cryptocurrencies in the design of Bitcoin. Spoiler alert, we won't tell you who Satoshi Nakamoto is. The path to Bitcoin is littered with many failed attempts at eCash systems and other credit card payment systems. Here's about 100 schemes that are notable in some regard. Some of them are academic proposals that have been well cited. Others are actual systems that were deployed and tested. Of all the names on this list, there's probably only one that you recognize. That's PayPal. It's the only current system that we have from the history of cryptocurrencies that's still being used today. In this portion of the lecture, we'll look at traditional financial arrangements. We're not going to give you a full history of cash and the ascent of money and all the things that went into the invention of cash, but we will look at some of the basics just to remind ourselves. They will help us understand the different types of proposals that we'll see. If we rewind in time and go back to a time before there was a government, before there was currency, one system that worked for acquiring goods was barter. In a barter arrangement, you may have two people. For example, here we have one person who wants to have a tool, and we have another person that needs medicine. Now, if each of these has what the other person needs, then they can do a swap, and they can both satisfy their needs. For example, this person can give medicine to the second person can give a tool in return. Now, the problem with barter is what happens when the two people don't have what the other wants. In this case, for example, we might assume that this person has food, which they're willing to trade for a tool, which they want. The other person has a tool, but they don't have any need for food. They want medicine instead. This situation can be resolved with the introduction of new parties. For example, let's assume that there's a third person. This person wants food, and they have medicine available that they're willing to trade for food. In this case, it's possible to arrange a three-way swap where everyone gets what they need. Now, the drawback of a barter-based system is a coordination. It's hard to coordinate all three people to have them at the same place, but also to situate them in time where everyone's needs and wants align in time so that they are able to complete this swap. In order to deal with this drawback of barter, one of two systems emerged to replace it. One system is credit, one system is cash. It's currently a subject of academic debate which of the two emerged first. For the purposes of this lecture, we don't really care about that debate. In a credit-based system, we can assume that the first person, for example, who needs a tool, they're able to acquire the tool from another person. However, they don't have the medicine that this person wants. All they can offer is food. Since this person doesn't want food, the arrangement could be that they still make the trade. The first person gets the tool, but the second person gets a favor that's owed to them in the future. In other words, this person has a debt that they need to settle with this person in the future sometime. Now, we can say that this person's needs are satisfied. She acquired the tool that she wants, but really she has a new need as a result of this arrangement. She has a debt, and she would at some point like to cancel that debt in the future. So that's her new want. Now, she can, at some future time, she may come across a third person. And in this case, the third person wants food, which she has. The third person is offering medicine. And if she remembers that medicine is what the person she has a debt with wanted to acquire, then she can trade her food for the medicine. And then when she has the medicine, she can go back to the original person and cancel the debt. As a result, everybody's happy. A second alternative we can look at is the cash-based systems. In this case, we'll assume the same scenario, except for in this case, we'll assume that this person also has some money, something of monetary value. In this case, when this person wants to acquire a tool from someone who's offering the tool, they can offer cash instead since they don't want the food that they have. So in this case, they do the swap. This person's satisfied, she has acquired her tool, and this person has acquired money, which is the value of that tool. Then later, if this person happens to come across this person, she still wants medicine, this person is offering medicine, she can swap it for the money. Okay? Finally, to complete the cycle, the original person has food, this person needs food and has money, they can pay for the food. And the money goes back to the original person who held the money in the first place, and everyone's needs are satisfied. Now we can contrast and compare cash systems versus credit systems. In a cash-based system, one requirement to bootstrap the system is you need an initial allocation of cash. The whole trading cycle would not have worked had the one person not originally had some cash on hand. By contrast, in a credit-based system, there's no allocation that's needed. It can work right out of the box. However, the credit-based system does have one drawback, and that is the party that gives the tool to the other party in exchange for a debt is taking on some risk. There's a chance that that person never comes back and settles the debt. Cash also allows for a finer grained precision when you want to say how much something is worth. In barter-based systems, it's hard to say if a tool is worth more than medicine or medicine's worth more than food. With cash, we can apply a mathematical quantity to how much something is worth. For these reasons, this is why we use a blended system today. We use a combined system of cash and credit, where debts are measured in the amount of cash it would take to settle the debt. A fairly direct application of these ideas can be seen in some proposals for peer-to-peer file sharing. Two systems that use these ideas are Mojo Nation and Karma. Mojo Nation was a short-lived project. It lived about 2 years, but it's sort of the intellectual ancestor of other protocols that are used today, like BitTorrent and Taohao Laughs. Karma, on the other hand, was an academic proposal. In both of these cases, we consider a peer-to-peer file sharing system, where some people have files, say movies or music, that they're offering to send to other people in the network, and they'll do this in exchange for other files that they want to acquire. In this case, both of these systems suggested that users, when they enroll in the system, are allocated initially some amount of cash, called Mojo or Karma in the systems respectively. Then the users were able to spend this money to acquire the files that they want. So if you're downloading from someone else, then you're paying cash to that person. When someone comes to you and they get a file that you have that you're offering, they pay the cash back to you. And the idea is to try and keep your balance floating around the amount that you were initially allocated. This also solves the problem of arranging barter between users. If different users have disjoint sets of files that they want to share and files that they want to acquire, then by using currency, they don't have to find that perfect person who has exactly what they need and is looking for exactly what they're offering.